Guten Tag, liebe Freunde und Freundinnen. Hello, dear colleagues. My name is Mikola Dziadok, a Belarusian blogger, writer, and political activist in exile. Due to my political activity, I have spent a total of 10 years in prison. Today I'm going to outline for you the situation with human rights in Belarus, trying to concentrate not only on how bad everything is, but also on how Belarusian civil society, politicians, and human rights defenders try to handle the situation. So now let me start with the context. As it was mentioned before, our story starts in 2020. Belarus is under the authoritarian rule since 1994. During Lukashenko's rule, it experienced several protest waves, but the biggest and the most influential one was the protest wave of 2020, when after the fraudulent elections and acts of police brutality, the broad masses rose up against the regime, demanding new elections and punishment of those responsible in tortures and killings. After weeks of hesitation, authorities responded with even bigger wave of repressions, resulting to what you can see on the slide. At least 12 people killed on the streets, thousands of tortured, and since 2020, human rights defenders know about at least 8,000 criminal charges against so-called extremists. At least something between 300,000 and 500,000 Belarusians left the country out of fear of being imprisoned. As of today, we have more than 900 people recognized by Vesna, is a Belarusian most prominent human rights organization, as a political prisoners. Even though some people are still imprisoned for participation in 2020 protests, including fighting security officers or guerrilla activity, today, after the major protest wave was curtailed, the overwhelming majority of political prisoners are serving their terms for sharing and producing extremist content on social media or for donating to civil structures, all of which are officially declared extremist organizations. Here you see the typical types of activities for which Belarusians are persecuted and imprisoned. Comments in social media are treated by Belarusian criminal code as incitement of hatred or spreading information endangering national security. When you like in social media any content which criticizes authority, it is treated as an assistant to extremist activity. Donations are considered financing of extremist activities. The same goes about stories, reposts, and any other type of internet content criticizing authority. As I've said previously, several hundreds of Belarusians left the country, but it would be a mistake to think that if you have left the country, you're gonna avoid the repressions. The typical transborder repressions are confiscation of passports during the forcible transfer. I was released at September 11th of 2025, thanks to so-called Trump-Lukashenko track, and my passport, which was in my official personal profile in prison, was never given back to Lithuanian side during my forcible release, forcible transfer through the Lithuanian border. And later on, me and other political prisoners, we get to know that our passports were officially annulled in ministry informational database. So generally, even though I have Lithuanian ID card and foreigner passport now, I'm a citizen of nowhere. Regime continues trials in absentia, and we still know lots of cases when the relatives of politically active people in exile who still stay in Belarus, their relatives can be harassed, fired from their job, or even imprisoned. Especially often it happens with volunteer fighters of Kalinowski regiment, who are the volunteers who fight for Ukraine. As I mentioned previously, for persecuting the critics of the regime, Belarusian authorities use legal pretext, legal framework built around the concept of extremism. Since 2020, many new laws has been adopted and many legal practices invented to systematically eradicate free thinking, self-organization, and freedom of speech using this concept. And what is also important, introducing every new law, Belarusian authorities, repressive law, Belarusian authorities attend it with a certain propagandist supplement, claiming that in all European countries they do the same, and hence we do not do something very special. We just protect our country from extremists. More precisely, these legal tools are the legal list maintained by authorities, which includes more than 4,800 persons, which list of people who are officially declared extremists. Those included are officially banned from several types of jobs, including public administration, teaching, and have certain limitations regarding financial operations. The Republican list of extremist materials. Belarusian authorities are desperate in their want to list all type of possible extremist content in a single list. So today, this official list of extremist materials, which is open, it is published, includes more than 9,000 positions, including chats, of course, social media pages. Every Belarusian activist in exile has a social media page, including mine, of course, in all social media like Threads, Facebook, YouTube, which are included in such a list. But also books, songs, some separate phrases like Ukrainian political chants, compact discs, t-shirts, plates, and even brooches. Punishment for storing or spreading extremist content varies from fines to 6 years of imprisonment, depending on the type of context, but especially on the behavior of the convict. They look if he is willing to sign a letter of pardon and to compensate the alleged harm to Belarusian state. The regime consequently persecutes people who promote in any manner Belarusian national symbols such as coat of arms Pogona and white, red, white flag. Even though since 2022 Ukrainian symbols are also under let's say clandestine ban. Even though Belarusian symbols and Ukrainian symbols are not officially banned, everyone promoting them in any way is in trouble. And of course, and it's my favorite, is everyday demonization, stigmatization, and intimidation through state media. They are really hard they are trying really to do very consequently and very intensively this intimidation, using verbal abuse, using personal threats, and even spreading personal information of dissidents in state media. But it would be a mistake to think that they use only legal tools. Of course, they are using illegal tools also, such as the vast usage of torture to film Kadyrov-style pardoning videos. Among all the repressive cases, it is important to mention the Belaruski Hayun case. Now the Hayun is a Belarusian forest spirit, a guardian of forest. But also it is a monitoring project started in January 2022, just before the full-scale invasion. Using a Telegram chatbot, massive amounts of data regarding the Russian military on the territory of Belarus were gathered from the common people, being a useful supplement for Ukrainian intelligence and civilians. Due to the human mistake, a personal info of those who have sent this information to this chatbot was leaked to security services, which resulted to at least 183 detained by today. The number of these people continued to increase. From the Gulag times, Belarus has a profound experience of eradicating political adversaries inside the penal system. Among these methods are yellow patches. They are attached here to every political prisoner to mark him as extremist. Stricter prison regime. I mean, in Belarus, political prisoners have much more regime limitations and abridgments than rapists, murderers, robbers. And once again, it is a Gulag heritage which encourages Parisian administration to ally with the criminals in suppressing the enemies of the state. So they are vastly using criminals as a tool of oppression, which includes psychological pressure, harassment, and even beatings. As a result of such a policy, at least 9 died in custody since 2020. Also, Belarusian regime has such a unique oppression tool, which is called Article 411 of a Belarusian criminal code. According to this article, literally every prisoner can be charged with an accusation of violation of prison regime, and after this charge, he may be sentenced to up to 2 years of imprisonment. And since the internal rules of any penal facility are composed, designed in a way that every prisoner violates at least something every second of his life, it is absolutely easy to convict anyone and prolong his term. Now let us speak about what human rights defenders do about it all. First of all, it's monitoring to evaluate the actual scale and tactics of the repressive regime. Documenting for the sake of the justice we are all absolutely certain of. The very important step. In March 2026, International Criminal Court initiated a charge against Lukashenko for crimes against humanity, which is also a result of a thorough work of Belarusian human rights defenders and politicians in exile. And of course, publishing, which is a threat to regime on its own, because for the external auditorium, regime tries to create a picture of everything is okay, we're not doing anything special. And now some details, since we're coming to the end. First of all, we try to position ourselves not like the victims of the repressive regime. We challenge this criminal regime, we fight, and we are responsible for our own future. For Belarus, defending human rights is a national affair. It is a matter of preserving our nation, since Lukashenko regime is anti-Belarusian and anti-European by design. Danke. So we have a specific situation, since in many countries, including, I think, Deutschland, human rights and politics are pretty divided. They are not so closely tied. But in Belarus, human rights and political struggle go hand to hand, since Belarusian regime openly declares its opposition to a mere concept of human rights. During the last years, they claim more and more often that we have our own authentically Slavic conception of human rights, and we follow it instead of the violently imposed Western ones. Thus, civil society and the democratic movements are both taking part in a war of values, a war of moral narratives. And the trenches of this war very closely align with those of the current confrontation between the free world and the obscurantist international. Thus, this activity is political in itself, but at the same time, it is broader than politics. It is about civilizational choice. So, why should Europe matter about human rights in Belarus? Because free Belarus equals free Europe. Human rights mean a democratic government and a more predictable rule and a less aggressive society. An authoritarian Belarus will always pose attention to its European neighbor. Thus, we believe that helping Belarus become free is a common European cause, and that's what we are fighting for. Thank you for your attention.